I'm gonna show you how hanging knee raises can actually help you improve your back pain, and we're gonna start right now. What's up, everybody? It's Dane Miller from GarageStrength.com, and if this is your first time to the channel and you're interested in learning about becoming a better athlete, you want to learn how you can be more explosive and get stronger, make sure that you like, you subscribe, and you ring that notification bell so we can help you become a beast. So a lot of people go throughout their entire life with serious back pain, and this might be people who aren't even in the realm of fitness. They're just completely outside of strength training. But if you're in strength training as well, there's a couple different factors that can go into causing severe back pain. You might have really tight hamstrings. Maybe you have really poor trunk control or poor trunk stability. You might have just a general weak lower back. You might also have some mobility issues around your piriformis, or you might have a pelvic tilt, and you struggle to coordinate your lumbar spine in conjunction with your glutes and your hamstrings. Maybe you've got even to the point where tight ankles can lead to some knee pain, which knee pain can then lead to this cascading effect of having some severe lower back pain. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna give you those 5 key exercises that you can utilize to try and target different positions. And just keep in mind, some of these movements are gonna be a little bit more advanced. So this entire video is not gonna be about how to diagnose back pain or how to perfectly treat it, but instead you can take 4 or 5 of these movements, put them inside of your training program, and then utilize them to diagnose and figure out one little area that you can improve upon so that your back pain can alleviate and you can improve your overall strength training. So the first exercise is going to be a posterior twist. And so this is a movement that we sort of created for some of our shot putters, some of our discus throwers, because there's a lot of torque on that lower back. There's a lot of deceleration. If they're right-handed throwers, there's going to be a lot of deceleration and a bit of compression on that decelerative side here. So if they're a right-handed thrower, there's a lot of rotation here. And so that's where this can come into play. And you can sit here and sort of twist and come up, okay? So this is where you're gonna figure out if your QL is a little bit tight, your piriformis might be a little bit tight, and the ideal thing would be posting up in this back leg, okay, and driving through the heel, okay? Drive through that heel. And so you're gonna rotate and come back up. One of the practical applications of this is my wife actually pointed out that she had gone to pick up our youngest son, Keenan, and he's a brick, he's super heavy. She goes to pick him up and twist, and she felt her back hurt a little bit. And so what she ended up doing is she modified this posterior twist where you can use a reverse hyper. And she actually took the banded posterior twist. You're here, and it's the same principle with a little bit of a row. Okay, so you'll come forward and row, come back up. So you're gonna feel that throughout your lower back, along the QL, piriformis, and your glutes. And if you can do this 2 to 3 days a week, as a warm-up, maybe if you do have that lingering back pain, I would recommend doing that. If you want to prevent it, put it inside of your program on a reverse hyper. You can load it up, you can use a little bit more weight, and throughout time, that should really help with the protective mechanisms to support and engage that lower back whenever you're doing sports activities. Okay, so that next exercise is going to be a reverse hyper. And some of the key factors here is you want to engage your abs. Okay, so I actually like to have a little bit of lumbar flexion when you start the actual lift, but try and think about pushing through your belly button. Okay, and one of the reasons why I love reverse hyper is it helps coordinate your rectors all the way in with your glutes and with your hamstrings, and then as you would round at the bottom when you're fully flexed inside the hip and then the lumbar spine, then you would try to extend at the top to really flex and engage and contract the glutes, hamstrings, and the erectors. So I recommend, if you're going to utilize this, start with just your legs. Okay, you don't even have to use this. You can come up here and just go nice and easy. And get a little bit of a contraction in that lower back. And then as you get stronger, as you get more engaged in your abs and in your posterior chain, then you can start to load up the weight. And all the way to the point where we've had some running backs, some sprint-based guys having 2, 3 45s on each side. And you can cheat, you can get a little bit more of that heavy load and get a little bit of a swing, but then you can hop back up here, bring those legs under a little bit and try and flex that lumbar spine here. Even just using that, that's the other thing, is we've got to remember, what's the whole goal here? It's to strengthen it. If you've got back pain, don't put a whole bunch of weight on. Just come in, do this with your legs a couple days, 4 or 5 days in a row, and it should alleviate some pain. If you are constantly having back pain, put this in there and try and load it up over time. Try and really strengthen your lower back and how it coordinates with the entire posterior chain, and it's going to help bulletproof that lower back. Okay, so the next exercise I love using for lower back movement is where we're gonna isolate and have an isometric contraction or isometric muscular action with a little bit of a load. So if you have lower back pain, I wouldn't recommend jumping right into using dumbbells. But one thing you could do is just sort of hold isometrically here and try and feel your lower back, the isometric action between your glutes, your hammies, and your lower back here. And then over time, that's gonna help develop your intramuscular coordination. And that's like a lot of what Dr. Stuart McGill will talk about, is how isometric action in the lower back is actually pivotal, because it tends to be a slower twitch muscle area, right? So if you are a little bit stronger and you want to strengthen that position, one thing you could do is you could come down here and grab these dumbbells, hold this, and just add a nice little row, okay, with a slow eccentric. And when that slow eccentric from the dumbbells is going to create a little bit more tension on the lower back, and that's going to force you to have a little bit better coordination from the upper body through the trunk. You're gonna have some dynamic trunk control, and that's gonna lead to better coordination in your lower back. Okay, and then as you would get even more advanced, you could start focusing, you know, if my left side has a little bit of a weakness, I could row on my right, and then vice versa. If my right side has a little bit of a weakness, I could row on my left. And so as you get a little bit stronger and more advanced, you could add a little bit more complexity to the movement, and that's in turn gonna help bulletproof that back and your posterior chain, and it's gonna light up your hamstrings as well. Okay, so now we're getting into the hanging knee raises, and there's a couple reasons why I believe that this can, from anecdotal evidence, I'll admit this, can alleviate some back stress, okay? So first, right off the bat, you're gonna lengthen your lats. You're gonna almost decompress that spine a little bit. You're gonna alleviate some stress off of your lower back. It's an open chain, so it's gonna be a little bit easier to control, and it's gonna improve your trunk control as well. And one thing I wanna see is that have a little bit of dorsiflexion in your feet when we're doing this, and then that's gonna help with a little bit more firing of your abs and less hip flexor work. You're still gonna utilize your hip flexors, but it's gonna be a little bit less with what we're doing with our toes. So we're gonna hang on the bar here, okay? Try and not swing as much as possible. Put that dorsiflexion into your ankle joint, bring up and try and control that eccentric. Back up. Ooh. And so when you get to the top, try and squeeze your abs and try and almost push your belly button into your knees right here. And what's gonna happen is you're gonna actually feel your abs fire a little bit more. And I even like to superset these with reverse hypers, because it's hitting it from both sides, okay, anterior and posterior. But it's also going to lead to a little bit of decompression and better trunk control in your abs. And when that happens and you start to do other movements, it's going to strengthen your lower back. So if you have back pain, I also recommend just hanging on a bar, trying to loosen up the lats. That's gonna alleviate some of that stress in the lower back. And then as you're getting stronger and you're getting back into your normal training routine, you can start to superset hanging knee raises with reverse hypers, and it's gonna really help that trunk fire entirely and coordinate all together. Okay, so that last exercise I like to utilize is, now we're starting to get a little more advanced, is doing a unilateral movement, especially with people who are consistently injuring one side of their lower back. This is prevalent in throwers, even a lot of football players based off of their stance, wrestlers as well, because they'll favor one side over the other so much, is that now you can start to see which side tends to be a little bit weaker. And so just a simple, it's like a standing single leg RDL or standing single leg good morning, where you come down and you gotta come back up, okay? So you can start the movement here, try and focus on your stability and your balance here. Try and feel your hamstrings, and then as you start to warm up, you can start to bring that knee through a little bit more, a little bit of a hip lock on the opposite side, okay? Now, for me, my right side is almost always where I end up getting a little banged up. and my right hamstring and ankle tend to be my problem. But so let's say I do, I like to call these single leg good mornings or single leg RDLs, but as I start to loosen up and I feel my hamstrings and my glutes, and right here I should start to feel my glute pushing through my heel, okay? So I'm gonna start to feel that. We're gonna get here, and now what's gonna end up happening is I'm nice and mobilized. I got my power elastic bands. Click on the link down below, available at garagestrength.com, power elastic bands. I can sit here, I get this set up now. Make sure you put this around your foot here, okay? You stand on it, and now I've got a good morning with that lever up the top around my neck. Come through, start to feel that lower back fire a ton into my hamstrings. And then as I come through and I squeeze through my hip, all the way through my glute. So this is a movement you don't have to really use a band. You can use it as a warm up, you can use it as cool down. And then as you get stronger and you start to work out those kinks, throw in that band, it's gonna start to strengthen your lower back. If you need help with a bulletproof lower back program, click on the link down below, head over to garagestrength.com. We've got a program to help you increase your lower back strength and improve it so that you can prevent that lower back injury. If you want more content around lower back training or around training for mobility, click on this card right here. Until next time, guys, peace.